Welcome to Booking It. Today's episode will be The Odyssey, Part 3. Hey everyone, welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, your eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and I'm glad that I am finally going to be on track for getting the parts right this time with our Odyssey discussion, whereas in the Iliad, it just kind of went like, okay, what part do you think it is today? And I just threw it out there. So anyway, glad you're joining us today for our Odyssey Part 3 discussion. And to my right, I have joining me Mr. Bryson Boswick. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing great.
Doing great.
Here again. Yep.
And across from me in an ugly Christmas sweater is my good friend, Mr. Tanner Lewis.
It's a llama.
It's not too ugly, actually.
No, I know, but it falls into
ugly.
the genre. As far as ugly Christmas
It doesn't have a big
yeah.
Michigan M on it, so Isaiah thinks it's ugly.
Yes, exactly. But then it can't be red. So.
Oh, I'm sure there's a Christmas version.
I wear
Nah,
red so the bad
not
guys
red, 'cause
can't
that's
see
Ohio
me
State
bleed.
colors.
Hey, did you guys
Ooh,
hear
yeah,
the
that would be
story?
bad.
So speaking of what Tanner
Wait,
said,
you gotta introduce Isaiah.
Oh, yeah, Isaiah.
Ah.
On my left. Sorry. We gotta
We're all back
quickly-
together, guys.
We're all back
getting
together.
us back.
So I went to a story about this captain in like a British naval ship, right, during like the 1800s or whatever. And he would always, when he saw a ship and they were going to go like defeat the pirates or whatever, they always put on like a red coat. So like, it's a red coat. One time his like first mate asked him, "Hey captain, like why do you always wear that like red coat, when we go attack the pirates?" I was like, well, so if they know, if I get hit with a bullet or if I get cut in my arm from a cutlass, it's so that the crew doesn't realize that I got hit. It's because it'll just blend in with the red, my blood will. And so they won't lose any courage. Next time they're out in the sea, they see a ship and then they raise the flag. And it's not just any pirate, it's the Dread Pirate Roberts, for the Princess Bride, that guy. And so they're like really, really scared. And so then the captain tells his first mate, instead of the red coat, bring me my brown pants.
Classic.
Speaking of sea ships, Odysseus gets shipwrecked. So Isaiah, take it away. You're leading this episode, so go ahead.
Oh,
By the
What
way,
a
you understand
transition.
that my quote was from Deadpool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I
I
was
didn't
gonna
get
catch
that.
that.
Yeah, I didn't get
Nope. Not you.
Yeah, no, that illusion. Tanner, we're classically educated homeschoolers. We don't get those kind of illusions.
No,
okay?
we don't watch Deadpool.
Yeah, allude to something classical, my friend.
Please.
Be smarter
But
next time. No, I'm
why?
kidding.
Okay, go ahead, Isaiah.
All right. So first off, I'd like to start with I realized while editing the last episode, we never actually discussed why they liked this book better than the Iliad, even though Tanner said we would. We ran out of time. So, first question, especially for Tanner, Bryson, Cooper, you can also add on. Do you guys still like the Odyssey better than the Iliad after the chapters we just read? And if so, why?
100%.
100%.
Easily. It's
Without a doubt.
it is a much better story
Yes.
that has much more range. That's part of it. Like, I don't love being stuck in the same exact place for what?
Amongst the same people.
10 years
Yeah.
or 9 years.
Well, no, the Iliad, the
yeah,
Trojan
it was
War is
like
10 years. The Iliad
2
was
weeks.
very short period.
But yeah, stuck in the same place with the same people, same storyline. Now we're getting to branch out, and we're seeing a whole lot more of Greek culture. That's what I love reading in the Odyssey.
Well, maybe not culture, but mythology. I don't know.
Well, both.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
we also
'cause-
had book 7, which I mean, fight book 7. Somebody.
You mean the poem the guy tells?
What?
No, the one where he climbs up out of the raft.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What in book 7?
Where-
No.
Was that book 6?
But no, so he gets shipwrecked in book 5, right? He has a raft in book 5, taken from Calypso's place, and then gets shipwrecked by Poseidon.
Book 7 is just meeting.
It's the like games and the songs, right? Isn't that what it is?
No, I think that's...
No, that's the
that's
one where
book 8. That's the final one we read.
That's the
Seven
book 7
is-
is
you're
the
right.
one where he wakes up in the raft, and
No.
No. But
7 is
Book 7
where
starts with
I'm
him
really off, aren't I?
being led by Athena
into the palace.
Yeah, into
that's
the palace.
book 7. Book 6 is probably the one you're talking about then.
Book 6, he wakes up and he's
Sees all the maidens and stuff.
Yeah.
sees all the maidens.
Very
oh yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
so
book
Isaiah,
6,
to answer
book
your,
6.
To answer your question, Isaiah. So I agree with Bryce. I think it's a better story. I think it's more engaging and fun, as he talked about, like seeing a lot of different places. I think overall, like the idea of Odysseus being a guy who's, just if we're taking surface level, has been away from his home, has
Yes.
been held against his will, and desperately wants to get home. And also is going to be tempted along the way, Like we all have a deep desire to do something, to get home sometimes, and we're going to be tempted as we, and so we can relate to his temptations and relate to him getting led astray, even as we are still cheering for him to, eventually make his way home. Mm-hmm. So I think he's a much more rootable character, even though he has many faults than people in the Iliad. And yeah, as Bryson said, it's just it's a fun story.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite characters in the Iliad already.
Yeah.
So why would he not be one of my favorite characters in the Odyssey? I mean, it's a whole story about him, and it's this beautiful picture of Christ and his bride that we can also look at as Christians, see it as this, he's going to do anything to get back to his home, back to his bride, back to where he belongs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny is in this case, though, I think that maybe Lightheart pointed this out in Heroes of the City of Man, but the idea that Penelope is the bride remaining faithful, whereas Odysseus is the dude, not remaining faithful a lot. And whereas it's actually reversed in Christianity, right? Yes. Actually, I just talked about it in my speech, where God and in Christ is the one remaining faithful to his bride. Yes. Whereas, Israel and now the church, the true Israel, I mean, we've had many times where we have betrayed that faithfulness. So, but I find that, you're right, Bryson, you're right. That parallel.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that, Tanner?
I agree.
Also, I think just for me, I think I've said this before, I have a different translation for the Odyssey over the Iliad, and it's a lot better. So I wish I had this guy for the Iliad. Robert Fagles.
I have the same one as you.
Yeah.
We all have the same one this time.
Yeah. They actually have the audiobook for the Robert Fagles for the Odyssey.
I want to say all the Homer audiobooks are read by really famous people. So I want to say one is read by Sir Ian McKellen. I don't know if that's the Odyssey. I know that Derek Jacobi did one. So I'm not sure who reads. I think it might be Ian McKellen, who plays Gandalf. He reads the Odyssey, which would be awesome.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they're really famous people.
I'm looking at who's reading
Homer.
I'm looking at who's reading mine right now.
Okay. Do you have the Fagles translation for that?
I do have the Fagles translation for it.
On Audible?
Yeah.
You'd recognize
it. It is Ian
Gandalf.
McKellen.
Oh, it is? Let's go.
Wow.
You didn't realize it was Gandalf reading it the whole time?
No, not at all. He didn't sound like it
I
for
know.
the longest
He kind
time.
of puts on a Tolkienian thing
like
for movies.
In the movies, he felt he felt different in the movies that he did.
He's putting on a persona and an accent.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
back to the book.
Everyone but you don't think the same thing. You
you
don't think that Odyssey is better than Iliad?
No, what I was saying last week specifically is that I can't really judge which one I like better just because we only read 4 chapters. Yeah. It was just the first 4. I definitely now think that it is better. I think it's more entertaining, more engaging, just a better story. Like Cooper said, you can relate to him. Last week I was just saying I don't really know yet. We haven't read much of it.
Yeah. I would say that books 1 through 4 have to be understood with what's going to be the payoff as well. Mm-hmm. If you're really excited to read the Odyssey about Odysseus, about, as Bryson said, one of his favorite characters from the Iliad, and how the opening thing is oh yeah, this guy's been tortured, he's gonna finally go home, it's gonna be awesome. All right, let's talk about his son for 4 books now. That can seem off-putting, but we understand we're watching Telemachus grow into a man as we're watching Odysseus become a better man at the same time, and we'll understand what's being actually what are the themes, the stakes, and what is being set up for Telemachus and Odysseus to do at the very end, and what they're going to do to the
This
suitors
is the beginning of how the home of Odysseus will be protected.
Correct, and made right, set right.
Yeah.
So that's why I understand your hesitation with books 1 through 4, but I think understood in the context of the whole story, I think it's actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. So
Okay. Now, if one of y'all could just summarize what happened.
Oh boy, let's have some fun, guys.
Probably should have done that first, but
okay.
Book 6.
No, book 5. Okay, so
you skipped the book.
So book 5 starts off. It's divine council, and I think Athena is telling Zeus hey, bro, Odysseus needs to go home. Dad, pops. Odysseus as the gods speak. Odysseus needs to go home. Calypso, she's sad, I know, but Odysseus has been away too long, so fix that. And so they send Hermes. Yeah, they send Hermes, the messenger of the gods.
Yeah,
he's yo, Calypso, sorry, honey, you gotta let Odysseus go. And she's man, I tried everything, offered him immortality for heaven's sake, and Stanley's just crying all the time. So, all right, I guess I'll let him go. And so,
I think you're forgetting Hermes was crying in wonder at one point.
Oh yeah, Calypso's
Calypso's.
Yes. Yeah. Odysseus is Hermes is kind of hey, kind of lost what I was going to say there. Yeah, it's kind of
that was so funny.
Yeah, it was. He got kind of awestruck.
But it really does remind us of the themes of, especially reading Here's the City Man, it reminds us of the themes of the Iliad, and just men in this time could not live a life where they did nothing. And we shouldn't, as men today, we shouldn't be willing to live a life of doing nothing but sitting inside with immortality. And just why would we trade what God has given us, His purpose for us, which is to make disciples of all nations, to share the gospel, to
dominion mandate.
take dominion,
Yeah.
and just be a couch potato.
Yeah. That was an inside joke. But the other day, I was getting some ozone shots for my arthritis. Just like arthritis just doesn't like oxygen. So
So you inserted some of the
Yes.
atmosphere into you.
Well, kind
That's
of.
crazy, bro.
Not the ozone layer,
Thought
but I got like one in my jaw and I got like 2 in each knee.
Okay.
And so everybody's like, oh, the nurse and my mom, like, oh, you're so brave. Like, it's a needle going into your jaw. Like, I'm like, Mom, like the entire history of man, like this is child's play, So I'm like, don't like. So you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the history of humanity has gone through so much, and men have been expected to do so much that I don't know. Like getting a
Men
needle
should be
is-
living up to their expectations to be men, not to be feminized men.
Yeah.
Not to be.
Mm-hmm.
effeminate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's Odysseus like traveling like the ocean unconscious in a raft, across the entire.
And by the way, experiencing many temptations that men fall into and
Yeah.
indulging in them,
Yes.
which is not commendable.
And here we are whining because we have to touch a piece of raw meat.
What?
What do you mean?
Vegans.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. So
Moving on.
So Poseidon.
That was-
Poseidon was on like a work
was
trip,
far.
right? And
Yeah.
Poseidon comes back.
Just at the right time.
Right. Just at the right time.
When he's in
It's like-
his domain.
Yeah. He's like, oh crap, Odysseus, I hate that guy. He's getting away. No. And
He's
you're like,
in the ocean.
He
Oh
like
my! What?
sends
let
a
me think.
storm.
I'm in charge of the
Yeah,
ocean.
Hang on. Let me just snap my fingers here. Yeah, so he sends a storm on Odysseus' raft, as Tanner has made reference to. And this weird scene happens where the waves are crashing, Odysseus isn't going to make it. And he sees like this weird mortal turned god. He's like, here's my like robe or piece of clothing, whatever. Hold on to it and you'll make it to shore and then like throw it back in the river when you're done. And so that's what happened. He like finds a spot that looks good and like beaches his raft there and like throws it back in there and then sleeps, right?
Yeah. This is also like perfect clothing that Calypso gave him. Like the last final gift that he's been given by the gods.
Right.
And he has to cast that off to
He's lost everything. All
So,
his
yeah,
glory,
when
all
he
his
gets-
men, all his
when he gets
winnings.
to the home of the
Phaeacians.
Phaeacians, he has nothing, literally nothing.
Yep.
And it's just like he has to be torn down. This is a good picture for us too. Like we have to be broken down before we can be built back up again. I think.
Hey Tanner, so can you turn to book 5, line 525? Book 5, line 525. It's like, well, when Odysseus is beached here, he spends the night under an olive tree, right? And this olive tree is extremely symbolic. I'm sorry, Isaiah, were you bring this up?
No, I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I think this olive tree represents really the main conflict between Odysseus, within Odysseus and in his journey. So Tanner, I want you to read that passage, and then we can kind of talk about it because I have some notes here and things that the book that we were reading talked about it as well.
Okay, I found it.
Read that whole like description of it.
Starting in the second paragraph.
Yeah, start with but.
Okay. But this was the better course. It struck him now. He set out for the woods, and not far from the water, found a grove with a clearing all around, and crawled beneath 2 bushy olives sprung from the same root, one olive wild, the other well-bred stock. No sodden gusty winds could ever pierce them, nor could the sun's sharp rays invade their depths, nor could a downpour drench them through and through. So dense they grew together, tangling side by side.
That's good.
Odysseus crept... Keep going.
That's good. Okay, so this is really, really weird, right? It's like a big, couple line mention of this tree, right? It's like an olive tree that's been like 2 bushes have been like grafted into one.
Mm-hmm.
But one is like wild and the other is domesticated and more like tame, right? And so I think this is like what Homer is trying to get across, and it's not my opinion, obviously. Like many people have said this, that the olive tree represents the main conflict in Odysseus. His like homesickness and desire to return, his domestic side, right? His marriage, his house, his family, and also the untamed, the adventurous, wild, the glory-seeking side. And so we see that like all
Which
throughout
also includes the
temptations.
the bestial
Oh yeah,
part of him.
yeah.
That
that
does give in to these temptations and sins.
I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves with bestial until we get to what's her name, Circe,
Yeah.
right? With the pigs.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is here we have a conflict between Odysseus' desire to return his home desires and then his wild, adventure-seeking desires. And we're going to see that all throughout the Odyssey. His temptations, his indulgences, then focus on Penelope and his wife as well. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I don't know if you guys had anything else about it.
Yeah, well, we're still in book 5, I think. So moving on into book 6.
Okay, sorry,
No,
one more thing
wasn't
here.
that book 6?
One more
Or
thing.
you have more.
So it's also in the final portion, we're going to learn that Odysseus' bed, it's actually a very important plot point,
Oh, yeah.
is made of an olive tree, coming into his bed. And so it's like represents the unity between his marriage bed and between the kingdom as well. So olive trees are very important. This is a good idea of kind of the main themes and the major plot points is going to come up later. So anyway, go ahead, Isaiah.
Oh, no, we're still going with the summary of the
Oh, yeah, but
chapters.
go ahead.
Oh.
So then book 6, Tanner.
Book 6.
Your favorite.
Odysseus wakes up, stripped of all worldly possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the little princess comes down and like, there's a man in the bushes, and so they're like, okay, and they wake him up.
No, that's not what happened.
No. He
He wakes
Oh
up.
yeah, wait. They didn't
He
see.
wakes up.
They didn't see, because he was hidden.
Yeah.
Why am I?
And then,
I'm
and
butchering
then,
this.
So he
yeah,
wakes
well,
up.
I'm butchering.
They
this.
all run away except for the princess.
And this is only
Yeah.
because Athena guided, what's her name?
Nausicaa.
She
Nausicaa.
sowed courage.
Yeah, so
into
Nausicaa is
her-
like, man, I gotta get a husband soon, I guess. And Athena's like, yeah, you should go down to like this little area,
Uh-huh.
wash your clothes. She's like, oh yeah, maybe I will. And so they go down, her and her maids.
So yeah, that really confuses me as to what Athena's trying to do. I don't know if she's just trying to steal the will of Odysseus and just like make sure that he's gonna stay true to
Athena's
his
bored.
wife.
Let's be honest.
I don't know. Yeah, I
Or
The
if
guess,
she's
Trojan
trying
War's
to
done.
tempt
She
him.
has nobody else to to
I mean, I guess
control.
okay. If we're thinking
meander.
like a pagan here, Athena is trying to get Odysseus home, but also he's got to like spend a day or two here resting and recovering before he can like, and also like win their favor.
So
he
she
can
just
go
wants
off.
him to make a
Wants him
friend.
to have something to occupy himself, I guess. Yeah,
to
you know.
oc-
I mean, like if we're like, I'm sorry, I'm
So
not,
wrong.
I'm not like being crude here.
Yeah.
Thinking about.
I know.
So anyway, Nausicaa.
But you can't.
he's
it's,
kind of. Let's be honest.
It's Homer.
Yeah.
So
Nausicaa is kind of attracted to Odysseus and sees him like a possible marriage prospect.
Well, and this is only because also Athena like
that
once he's been bathed, once he's
Right, and
taken a
cleaned
bath,
off. Yeah.
she like showers him with this aura of like,
Glory.
godlikeness,
Yeah.
pretty much.
What,
Right.
And
whatnot.
Nausicaa's
And
like,
kind of disguises
oh
him as
my
well.
goodness, you, whoa.
I love when he asked them to leave. That was a funny line when he asked all the
Oh yeah, he's like
all the girls to
it's
leave.
be awkward.
Just go.
By the way, so speaking of like Nausicaa getting attracted to Odysseus, like this warrior king guy. So we often think about like Proverbs 31. I mean, she's obviously a great woman is a great example of a great woman. But what's funny is somebody pointed out to me like, what's the kind of guy who would attract that kind of woman? That's like the men of men, right? If that kind of woman is your wife, then you must be some kind of guy. Like that's also as Christians, as Christian men, we're not only told to praise that kind of woman, but also be the kind of men who to be attract that kind of woman as well,
Yeah.
right? And so anyway, I just thought about that as we were thinking about this because she obviously is very. I mean, who wouldn't be? Like Odysseus is strong, powerful. Just got bathed, cleaned, which I mean happened like once a year back then. So I'm sure that he
Looks glorious.
just like, hey, I like
You're
this guy.
clean.
So anyway,
All right, moving on.
You
they,
smell like oil.
long story short, Athena leads him to the palace, right?
Yeah.
Leads him through the city.
Yeah.
She kind of warns him like, hey, they're not like too hot on stranger. Like, no, they're not too keen on having strangers.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna just kind of disguise you as you walk to the palace.
Which amazes me though. Like Athena tells him that and says specifically the men here do not like strangers.
Right.
But then
But they
Nausicaa
respect
went
sailors
like
as well.
when she first saw Odysseus before he even looked regal, she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll take you in, we'll protect you." And then he gets clothes and gets bathed, and she's like, "Oh, whoa."
We'll do more than protect you.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
keep you here.
But this is
I
yeah.
love when the king asks him later.
Then you
like,
see
why, why didn't you send him back? Why didn't you bring him? Why didn't you bring him in?
Oh, yeah.
And Odysseus is like, well, actually, we didn't. I look too good.
And he actually kind of covers for her too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
That's the kind of man that attracts that kind of woman. He covers for her.
yeah, because she says that he shouldn't be seen walking in town with her because people will then think that he's suitor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what does he say? I can't remember what he says. He says that he didn't want to shame
Be
her.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to cause
Any,
shame to be put on her.
yeah. Any issues?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, well,
Okay.
they bring him into the palace. They show him some hospitality. Anything else in book 7 before we move on to book 8?
That's about it.
He kicked out his own son to give Odysseus.
Oh, that's
place
true.
That is a
That's
good
right.
point.
That's right. That's
Place
right.
of honor.
I
right
enjoyed
beside
that.
him.
What a
enjoyed
host.
Yeah.
And then that son comes up later in book 8 because they're having a bunch of games and festivities, and that son is like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna go like insult Odysseus and get him to fight me."
Yeah.
And then Odysseus is like, "Come on, man, really? You want to insult me and mock me like that? I'll show you." And then picks up like a discus that weighs like 200 pounds, like chucks it.
That wasn't
on the ball
Broadsea.
field.
I think that was Broadsea because it was
I don't know.
what is his name?
Leo
It was a dude that was challenged.
Leodamas
They're
did.
challenging him.
No, Broadsea tells Leodamas to go challenge him, and Leodamas does.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, see.
Of course, Cooper's right
Leo-
at
Leo-
it. Of course. Again.
This is line like 175. Leodamas, quickly to the mark, Odysseus countered sharply. "Why do you taunt me so with such a challenge?" So Leodamas did.
No.
Anyway, they also have like a
What
cool,
a wingman. Somebody that you don't know, just like,
He's a wingman.
go challenge him.
Anyway, we have a cool bard who sings some songs. One
Brings
of them
back
is
all
like
the memories.
really lewd.
Which also reminds me of, and this book is full of like throwbacks and here, remember this that happened previously. It reminds me of
Previously on.
yeah, of when he's at the palace of Menelaus.
Oh, yeah,
and,
true.
And he's hearing the story of his feats or the Trojan War again, and it reminds him of everything he's been through, everything that his comrades have been through, and it causes him to weep and mourn. And it just, I know we'll talk about this, but it amazes me that no one knows who he is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is very important because
Like,
delayed.
why do you not tell
So-
anyone
so-
your name? Like, that's the first thing in our culture that we do is we shake hands, we say, "Hello, my name is so and so," and he never once says his name.
Hello, my name is
Inigo Montoya.
no,
It's
Ladasha.
Mr. Nobody.
Anyway,
Do you mind spelling that for me?
okay,
Cooper?
no. So,
Moving on.
so one thing I wanted to say here was the delayed identification is a very important theme, right? In the Odyssey, excuse me. So like, he shows up on Ithaca like pretty early on, but is disguised, and so this idea of withholding who he is
Patience.
and then showing himself in full glory later. It's actually something like Aragorn does a lot in Lord of the Rings. They're like, "Who are you, you scrappy-looking man?" He like throws back his cloak, and like the sun like
I
falls
know.
upon him. "I am Aragorn,
Such
son of
an
Arathorn,
amazing-
heir to the throne of Gondor." Like, oh. So
Amazing reveal.
that
Exactly
happens
how
a
it
lot.
goes. Yeah.
Like seriously, it happens like 3 or 4 times.
True.
Birds fly overhead.
Yeah, exactly. Halo and things. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Moving on to this
So
summary
no,
of the book that's been like 10 minutes.
So the bard is like
Sorry.
literally Homer incarnate because he's blind. Everybody loves him, and Odysseus literally says, "Hey, dude, like I fought, with Achilles and Menelaus. You're like the man that I respect the most of anybody." And Homer is like getting some real good self gratification.
That's like Stan Lee
Off of
putting
that.
himself in the movie.
Yeah, well, almost like Stan Lee is kind of like laughed at. Homer is like glorified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But he
Yeah.
sings like a lewd song about Ares and Aphrodite getting caught in some adultery there, and poor Hephaestus. It's just kind of like nobody likes the dude.
Well, and it also everybody does because Odysseus kind of takes comfort in that, thinking, okay, and I guess he's just assuming that there will be people trying to win the heart of his wife because he doesn't know that there are suitors
I think
trying to.
that we're getting kind of like winked at. I guess here,
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
know.
But
Mhm.
yeah, we know, and so it's kind of reassuring to us. We're constantly told that Odysseus is crafty, that Odysseus is cunning, and that's what Hephaestus keeps saying is the smart one outwitted or outcaught
No, it's a good
or
point,
caught
yeah.
the quickest, the god of war, and he and so Odysseus takes heart in that and seeing, okay, well, I'm the cunning one, I'm the crafty one, I'll be able to outsmart.
No, you're right.
Anyone
My
that
point was like
challenges
Aphrodite
me.
just kind of like kicks him to the wayside because he's lame, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you're right. Like Odysseus does take a lot of comfort in it. So
Yes,
good
yes.
point.
But you had something to say. You need to speak into
okay.
the microphone.
Oh, it's true. Miss Emily said, Tanner's mom said that Hephaestus made the armor for Achilles, which is true, which is a dope armor. So,
Good point.
Yes.
and Tanner was like gushing over the amount of like imitations that were made of that armor.
He
So.
still probably is.
He still probably is.
Solid gold, Cooper.
You need to post that photo
Still
on
is.
Patreon. Let me find a photo of that.
Yeah, we never did.
I did post it.
What's I gonna
Did-
say?
Didn't
Oh.
I?
Never mind. We
Oh
did.
yeah. Also, at the very end, the bard tells some more stories
Maybe I did.
about basically the Trojan War at the behest of Odysseus, and everybody's like, "Man, that guest is kind of like weeping under his cloak over there. Like, what's going on there?"
Mhm.
And so then they ask him like, "Tell your story, bro. Tell your story." And then that's kind of where it ends.
It ends.
It ends.
You're like, no.
Yes. Okay.
I want to hear the story again, so just do the whole Iliad again. No.
Basically, like he's gonna sing the Iliad. Like, hang on, 24 books later. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's like the Loki finale. How much would it take to learn everything about physics? Many
Like
hundreds of years
centuries.
later. Yeah, centuries later.
It's like many centuries later.
Oh yeah, Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Such
tell
a-
us your story. 24 books later.
Oh yeah, and what Miss Emily just said was I said that Odysseus went to Menelaus' house, but it was Telemachus. Sorry, it
Oh,
was
you're
just
right.
another
You're right.
parallel between him and his son.
Correct.
Like like you said, both of them are growing in to become better men.
Right.
And so this is
Telemachus, even like a man in the first place.
yes,
And Odysseus, like a better man. Yeah.
yes. Even after he's won all this glory and fame in the Trojan War that people are already singing about. Like how many years later? 7, 8 years later, people are already singing the fame of his name and.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
No one knows it, but I'm him.
That's some humility too. I think there just to
Humility in the Greek.
to come to this place where no one knows you, but everyone knows who Odysseus is, and he doesn't say anything to just try to win their favor immediately, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm Odysseus.
right.
I'm that guy that won."
This is like the best thing because you
Trojan
can
War.
get all the glory with having the high moral ground, not having to claim any of it for yourself. You know, it's like, hey, sing about Odysseus. He's great, right? Oh yeah, Odysseus is great. Like, yeah, I think so too. It's kind of a win-win there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now that we summarized,
Yeah, that was like
Take
a
it back
17-minute summary. You know,
So, like, here's the thing, we were
we discussed
we were
the book
discussing
while
it as we
doing
went.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
Yeah,
totally
you
good.
guys went through like most of the stuff that I
This
had
is
on it
called
oh, I'm
while
sorry.
doing that.
Going in chronological order.
That's right. I guess we're going to heaven according to
According to the
Narnia-
Babylon Bee.
how you should read Narnia.
What?
So the Babylon Bee had a post like, if you it's a one question test. Okay, do you read Narnia in chronological order or in publication order?
Oh,
And it would determine whether you went to heaven or hell. And so if you did chronological,
Apparently, I
then
go to hell.
you go to hell. But if you read publication, then you go to heaven. So
interesting.
I've read both.
Okay,
I've read
moving on.
publication more than I've
Yes,
read
move on,
chronological.
please.
Sorry.
Did you guys have any thoughts on the games that went on?
I actually
Okay.
like them better than the Elite games.
Yeah, that's what. I
Yeah,
was
they were a
going
lot more
to.
fun.
It was pretty brief too.
It was pretty brief.
Mhm.
It was just
I
like,
wanted more.
and we had this game, and this is who won, and we had this game, and this is who won, and then we had Odysseus, who slung this discus, and he
I
just
would've-
basically threw it way past everybody.
I would have loved to see Odysseus just go in there and start wrestling the guy. Not even like during the disc, but like literally just straight up wrestling him and destroying that guy.
Oh, that was something
So-
that we didn't say. No, go ahead.
Oh, keep going. Sorry.
That was something we didn't say anything about. Is like, especially in Here's the City Man. It talked about this this culture, these people, the Phaeacians. They aren't real men because they don't do the things that really matter, like fighting, winning glory for themselves. Their main things are building ships and
Yep. And
dancing.
sailing. Yeah, dancing.
Mm-hmm.
dancing. And
weird,
Odysseus
man.
like is amazed at their ability to dance and just like
Oh, that's right, because the bard comes
That
out.
sounds
and,
like
these
every
guys,
Pirates
like,
of the
start
Caribbean
dancing.
movie.
Gobbledygook.
wait, when is their dancing? I can't remember it.
Every time they go to Tortuga.
It's
Okay.
not.
It's not a major part of the movies.
No.
But just like they
Tanner, okay, look, Tanner so far has referenced Pirates of the Caribbean and Deadpool in this episode so far. Wow.
wow.
And the
He's
Pirates
probably
one
gonna
didn't really
reference the
even
Barbie
fit.
movie
Anyway,
next.
yeah. Anyway,
But like they
I
aren't
tried.
willing to they're like set off and Nausicaa says this herself, like they're set off so far from the world that like no one's really going to harm them. They think they're protected by the gods because they're in their
Right,
own
there's
little
actually-
cocoon.
something that Lightheart pointed out was the olive tree could represent like this idea of the Phaeacians are on the edge of civilization and the brink of the monster realm, right? So they're kind of in this spot where it seems like they're kind of safe, but they're kind of like mixed in terms of the
But
way
he
the world's
doesn't think
located.
that they're real men and that
They're
like,
different for sure.
have done the tough things in life.
Right.
But
Yeah, I had another thing. So books 1 through 4, right? We talked about this a little bit last time about like the comedy portion of this. I felt a lot more of the comedy in this section than I did earlier.
Yeah.
In it, like books 1 through 4 I felt the comedy, right? But here I felt like there were a couple of places where I genuinely laughed. Or, I mean, laughed. Light chuckle.
That's By the way, one other thing with Nausicaa, obviously, like the whole scene on the very beginning that Tanner was talking about when he wakes up, like it's meant to like be this, Nausicaa and Odysseus. Are they gonna get together? Are they gonna get together? It's actually like the one time where it seems like he doesn't give in to the temptation, right? He doesn't indulge his desire of like the whole thing, and it's like set up as a real legitimate temptation and allure and desire here, whereas he will with Circe, So I thought that was kind of interesting to take note of.
Circe was just like unfair though.
Well, not really. He failed.
That's true.
And also, like,
I mean,
so
that's a different. Wait,
Lightheart
that's a different discussion.
Lightheart points out with like Calypso as well. Like Odysseus, like wasn't enjoying it anymore, but it seemed like it's kind of implied that he liked it at the beginning as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 7 years. So.
Yeah.
7 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other thoughts on it?
I don't think so.
I know I have a ton. I thought it was interesting that, when Brodsky is like just assuming who Odysseus is, it really reminded me of Nestor. And just like he's assuming he's this weak old man that really has he's out of his prime and he's not able to do the things that real men do now. And Odysseus is like, yeah, I know how to do that. I can do that if I want, but and he doesn't like. He could go and then challenge all of these men that have just accused him of not being a real man, and instead all he does is just takes this one moment, this one opportunity to show them up, and then just leaves it there. I mean, I don't know if I'm willing to say that's humility, because he still does have to like speak out for himself and prove to them, hey, I'm really stronger than you think I am.
Yeah.
I'm really better than all of y'all. But yeah, it really amazed me, just the amount of hospitality that was here. Now, granted, like you said, they're kind of assuming and expecting him to kind of stay there and eventually get married to their daughter and kind of just like cater to his every need so that he will stay and he will become part of their family. But just like we've already talked about, with the Odyssey, we just don't ever see this anymore. Being willing to have this stranger enter our community, our house, and just set everything aside for them. Give them the best of everything. Being willing to sacrifice of ourselves to make them feel welcome.
And as we talked about at like the very beginning, is the idea that hospitality is really the arbiter of who is good and bad in the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Which is even more interesting given that, well, it's kind of alluded to that Poseidon is going to kind of, block up their harbor, right?
Yeah.
With the kind of prophecy they mentioned. So we'll talk about that. But it's an interesting scene when we get there. But yeah, you're right. Like this is really a bold hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of the good guys. You're right, though. Like they are kind of like motivated to do it.
He said something back in book 6. Odysseus said something really interesting about marriage that I thought we should probably talk about.
That's hilarious. Does it sound like something that I have to say every morning?
What?
I bet it is.
It's nothing more admirable.
No,
What does it say? What
no.
does
It's
it
a
say?
different. It sounds different,
What's
but
it, Bryson?
it's because the one that we did is a
I know.
different translation.
Yeah. There's no this is line 200, book 6. No finer, greater gift in the world than that, when man and woman possess their home, 2 minds, 2 hearts that work as one. Despair to their enemies, a joy to all their friends, their own best claim to glory.
It's the
That's
exact
it.
thing
That's
that
it.
we do,
Yeah.
except in a different translation. As I said, Bryson, it just
Mm.
sounds different. It's different. They're different words,
No, it is.
but
It's
it's the exact one.
It's
it.
If
It
you
is?
go, yeah, it's that line.
Okay. Well, still.
That's why you like it.
It's been ingrained in my mind.
It is a good line, but I'm like, man, I don't think the Greeks held to that all the time.
No, that's
No, not at
really what
Don't
amazes me
think.
is just like how Homer could write this about men and women having one mind together.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah, I mean, like seriously,
this is laughable.
at this point, like, did he
How often
read
does this
Genesis
happen?
where it says one flesh?
Yes,
like-
yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of, is what a
Yeah.
man and wife are called to be in God's word.
But what I love here is that it's portrayed as like a joy to their friends, right? But like a disaster for their enemies. You know, I love the idea that marriage is like that, and I think that that's been kind of lost. you know? Actually, if you want to like harm your enemy now, you get them married, so they can ruin their marriage and get divorced later, right? But that's not how it's always meant to be.
That's an elaborate plan,
What?
Cooper. It sounds like you've thought
Cooper,
about
Conspiracy
why are
theory.
you? Whoa.
No. All I'm saying is that I don't think that is how marriage is viewed in our culture nowadays,
No,
and I think
yeah.
that's sad.
not at all. We need to return back to this view, though. I mean, because it is God's will for
Right.
us, obviously.
Right, and as Chesterton said, right, like there's nothing more extraordinary than an ordinary man, his ordinary wife, and their ordinary children. I like that quote. So,
Yeah, that is really good.
Wow.
all right,
That's it.
donor shout outs.
Donor shout-outs.
Wow.
Y'all, we are loving this donor shout out list because it keeps
It's
growing.
growing.
It's growing. And as they say, I don't know what they're going to say, but a tree that grows fast is good. I don't know. I said as they say, and I was like, oh boy, I don't have anything to say here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all who have donated so
Oh
far.
my goodness, yes.
Thank you, or just listening. Anything you do and related to the podcast and sharing and listening supports us. So thank you so much for that. We're about to do an elaborate story here
Oh
to
boy. Here we go.
celebrate
Elaborate.
the donations of those who have given us $5 or more a month over at patreon.com/bookinit. So, all right. So on my list, I have a checklist now, so that we
Yes,
can.
we updated it to a
So,
checklist.
so we make sure we have everybody, and we can checklist to make sure that we get everybody.
Because
shouted
we
out.
may or may not have missed y'all
Okay.
in the past. And we
Here's-
apologize.
So here's the deal. Okay, I'm gonna start off the story. Okay, so
Oh boy.
we have Will. Okay, one of our newest patrons, Will.
Yes.
He is going to be, he's on an island. Okay, and this island, he's alone now. Okay, and he's been just hanging out, and he doesn't really like it a lot. Okay, and so he's like, you know what, I need to get off this island. Okay, but then he realizes I have no way to get off this island.
That's unfortunate.
And so Bryson, how are you gonna get Will off the island?
Well,
By the way, in Hawaii we watched Lost, so that was kind of fun.
Okay, back to donor shout-outs.
That's what I gotta say. Yeah.
yeah, well, Will is stuck on this island. He has no idea how he's going to get off. And it just so happens that Keenan really does not want him to get off this island. He's just throwing everything at him that he can.
So he's not alone on the island. So Keenan shows up.
Keenan
Where does Keenan come from?
Keenan has a little more power than
Just kind of appears.
Does Keenan just materialize?
Yes.
It's like the
Yes.
Unman from Pyroland.
And so Will finally gets directions from
Okay, hang on. So what's Keenan's motivation for keeping Will on the island?
Keenan. I mean, does he need a reason?
I mean,
like it, I like it, I
he's
like
a
it.
god. He can do
I
whatever
like
he
it.
wants.
I like it. Okay, good. Keep going.
This is just Keenan's will. Keenan wants this to happen. Keenan's will. Okay, so
Wow.
but then this other goddess, Miss Jenny, appears to Will, and he's like, okay, well, how do I get off this island? Someone has to get off. Someone has to get me off this island. And Miss Jenny gives him this turtle shell, and this turtle shell is going to allow him to transport magically from wherever he is to wherever he wants to be.
That's crazy, bro.
Well, Keenan sort of misdirects this and sends him to this island where people just really love French fries.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy, bro.
All right,
Take
Tanner.
it
That's
over,
wild.
Tanner.
Okay, and I guess that's where the other unmaterial people show up.
No, we moved islands. We teleported.
Yeah. This is when these are the
So
gods.
he-
Oh, he lost-
These are people like Keenan. That
And
don't-
Keenan made him lose the turtle
So
shell now.
these
So
are-
he has
Oh,
no
yeah,
shell
yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
So these are Gnostic gods.
Yes. Okay,
It's pretty
so,
weird, man.
These are when we get Van Pappy and Wayla, right? Okay, and then we also get Isaiah's grandparents as well. You know, just
Mike and Sylvia. Yeah.
yeah,
All those
yeah,
people.
all of the people, right? And they just descend upon the island, and they're like, "Why did you come over here?" And Will's
do
like,
you
"I
here?"
don't know why I came over here." And so, Howdy happens to be riding a ship, and he
All by himself.
all by himself. Yes.
All
Uh,
by myself.
No.
And so
He
Howdy
saved
is
himself.
sailing by this sailing
French
by
fry
the
island.
island, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to be my bud?" And Will is like, "Yes." And so they happily go on their way, leaving the unmaterial gods to sit there and ponder why they even showed up.
Great.
What happened about the fries though?
Yeah, the French fries. They eat French fries. They ponder while eating French fries.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
they ponder.
It's good ponder food.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
It is good food.
And
They,
they're on their way.
what
where?
fries were they eating?
We don't
So
know
the
yet.
question-
They're just on their way.
That's a good debate.
Is this Chick-fil-A or Whataburger?
Wait, what if it was a
Chick-fil-A.
medley?
It's got to be.
Curly fries. I'm convinced.
Yes,
they're
Arby's
fries.
curly fries.
Okay.
Arby's
Okay.
curly.
Fair.
All right.
Okay.
So they're on their way where? Are they
Where were they
on
going?
their way to Will's home or to
Wherever
Howdy's
the
home?
winds take them.
Oh, I
Oh.
like it.
Well, that's unfortunate for them then.
Isaiah's like, hey, let's go.
All right. Well, if it's wherever the winds take them, the winds took them the wrong way. So
The wrong way.
they basically on their journey, they were just kind of like going around the sea. It just ends up happening that they just go in circles around the island, not
Ooh.
realizing it. It's kind of unfortunate.
Oh.
Finally figured out. They're like, you know what? We're not going to follow the winds because the winds are misleading us.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, we're going to go back to Will's home. So they start heading there, and then they run into the dreaded pirates, Moses, Zara, and my Aunt Jane and Uncle Sam. It's like a family business pirates, Every time they have this whole big battle, and eventually they ended up beating the pirates by throwing French fries at them. It gets
Nice.
Oh,
clogged.
still
Like
French fries.
it just gets shoved in their mouth, and they die from the fries.
What, they put
They
them
choke.
they put them on the cannons.
Yeah,
and
all the cannons like in the Pirates of the Caribbean where they shoot the forks. It's like that. They shoot fries at them. They choke on the fries, and they all die.
I like this.
All right, and continue.
Okay. All right. So Howdy and Will continue their journey, but at last they arrive at the home. But there are 4 guardians standing watch, and they won't let Will and Howdy pass. Okay, because they realize that they can't come in because the guardians are like, you can't leave the island and then come back. That's not how this works.
Who are the guardians?
The guardians are Anna, Emily, Mrs. Hall, and Kara. All right.
Mm.
These are the guardians. They're guarding their home, and you know what? Like, they're kind of misguided, but they have a good reason. They don't want to like bring back some disease, bring back some bad warrior dude. They don't even know who Will is, He's just a random guy. But we're back going to Howdy's home. And so they're like, you can't roll up, you can't pull up. And so they're like, we demand parley, talk to your leader. And they're like, you can't do that. We're in charge here. And so Will and Howdy are like, we don't want to fight you. Okay. But then descending from on high comes actually like the real leader of the Guardians. And that's Nana. And Nana makes peace and says, Will and Howdy, I can tell you're tired. You don't want to fight the Guardians. You can just come in and you can have sleep. And so they come in and they rest and everybody's happy. And that was actually like the one happy ending we've ever done. So
Yeah.
Everybody lived except for the people that choked on French fries.
yeah, true.
What if instead of choke, they got wrapped up in the fries because it was the curly fries? They were like extra large.
It's like they got like it's like a
They got like tied up.
Olive Garden cheese. They say like
Yes.
like
Yeah.
under a
Yes.
pile of curly fries.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that option.
All right,
Can't
nobody
kill
died.
our
This is a
Patreons.
PG version of our story.
Yeah, when Isaiah started like the choking, I'm like, we were actually on a good track for this.
My
one.
bad.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Make sure you support us at Patreon if you can. If not, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Share with your friends. Check out our website in the description. Check out our newsletter, our blog. All the stuff's on our website. We love you guys. We thank you. We'll see you next time. Until then.
Keep on booking it.
Yay!